Hey guys, it's Rob here and welcome back to another video. So in this video we do have some pretty interesting Metroid Prime news from a series producer. We have the file size for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which might shock you on how big it is, because usually we can expect Nintendo Switch games and Nintendo Switch 2 games to be pretty small. This one's actually a little bit bigger, actually quite bigger than other Nintendo Switch games. YouTube is coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 as well, so there's that and a lot of other cool Nintendo Switch 2 news. If you guys end up enjoying this video, make sure you guys leave a like. It really does help push the video when you do that. And of course, if you do want more Nintendo Switch news or leaks or rumors, that kind of thing, especially like when a Nintendo Direct drops, make sure you guys subscribe and have that notification bell on so you know when I upload. So Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is apparently gonna be 42.8 gigabytes on the Nintendo Switch 2. So this is what Stealth40k over on Twitter has to say. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is 42.8 gigabytes on Switch 2, 3 times bigger by file size than the other Hyrule Warriors games. Hyrule Warrior Definitive Edition, 12.9 gigabytes. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, 11.1. Now, I'd be curious as to why this is the case. I think there might be a couple things that actually attribute to this. One thing's for sure is probably the file size for the textures. I'm sure that's going to increase the amount of memory that's going to be taking up on your Nintendo Switch 2. And when you have more power, you can do more with the actual game, so I'm sure that probably increases the file size. Maybe the areas are bigger. Maybe you can have more enemies on screen because of the power of the Nintendo Switch 2. There's probably multiple reasons why it would increase that much, but that's actually a pretty significant size. It makes me wonder how good this game is going to look, and also not only look but run as well, because from the gameplay we've seen, it looks like it runs really smooth, which is something I'm very excited for, because I'm sure for anybody who's ever heard me talk about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, I just didn't like the performance of that. It was really bad. In some areas it was, for me anyways, just borderline unplayable. So to see this game come out and have really fantastic performance, at least as far as I can tell from the trailers, is really exciting. Now, the reason why I wanted to cover this is because there's not a lot of memory on the Nintendo Switch 2 if you didn't buy an SD card. So it's going to take up quite a lot of your Nintendo Switch's storage space. So if you are going to pick up this game, just keep that in mind. It's 42.8 gigabytes. And moving on to the next topic, something that was pretty interesting that I found in an article. So My Nintendo News has an article that says Metroid Prime series producer wants fans to experience Metroid Prime 2 multiplayer. So this is what they had to say. Metroid Prime series producer Kanuse Tanabe has revealed in a new Metroid Prime 1 through 3 a visual retrospect art book that he would like to have more people experience the multiplayer they shipped with the GameCube classic. Metroid Prime 2, Tanabe says the developers put their heart and soul into developing the multiplayer, and it wasn't a last-minute addition. And this is what his direct quote was. Retro finished the multiplayer mode with compromising on quality even under such challenging conditions, he wrote. Being of its time, it was designed for local play, so the number of people who actually experienced it might have not been very large. If it was remade, or if it is remade, I'd be delighted for more people to have a chance to experience it. Now, I personally never actually played the multiplayer either, so this would be my first time playing it if they ever did remake Metroid Prime 2. And that's another thing. I'm really surprised that Metroid Prime 1 and 2, not 1 and 2, Metroid Prime 2 and 3 hasn't been remastered, or even just like, I guess you would call Metroid Prime 1 remastered a remake, because they did do a lot of work on it, so it kind of blurs the line between the two. What would you guys think? Do you think Metroid Prime 1 remaster is like a remake, or do you think it's just like a regular old remaster? But my point is, I'm really surprised that they haven't brought that to the Nintendo Switch 2, especially with Metroid Prime 4 coming up. You think they would have at least done like a shadow drop or something with them. I guess they could still do it though, because it's on December 4th. That's the release date of Metroid Prime 4, so if they do end up bringing that to the Nintendo Switch 2, I'd be curious if there's any changes to the multiplayer where you can actually play it online with people. Now, here's a pretty interesting additional info. Initially, there was a proposal to develop a multiplayer-focused Metroid Prime 1.5, and ultimately, multiplayer was realized in Metroid Prime 2. However, Retro expressed a desire to create a robust standalone sequel in Metroid Prime 2. Now, I want to ask you guys, especially people who are like huge fans of Metroid Prime, would you want that if it was like a spin-off or like a free-to-play game, I guess? To be honest, I prefer it to be a spin-off, or honestly, and this is something I've been thinking about here and there, I would say, when it comes to just like multiplayer games in general. You guys remember when like there just used to be these random multiplayer modes just tacked on to single player games, and sometimes they would be like really, really fantastic. If they ever did want to bring multiplayer back, let's say in Metroid Prime 5 or something, or maybe some kind of spin-off, I definitely would just like it to be on with the multiplayer and single player in one big package, you know, just like it used to. But that might be nostalgia speaking. But anyways, let's move on to a rumor for Crash Bandicoot. So this is actually pretty exciting, but also a little bit disappointing at the same time. Rumor, Sonic Prime Studio, and that's the disappointing part, reportedly working on Crash Bandicoot animation for Netflix. So this is what they had to say. Crash Bandicoot has been revitalized over the past decade, and there are now reports Netflix has greenlit a new animated series. According to what's on Netflix, the new series will apparently be created by WildBrain Studios, the same studio behind Sonic Prime. Sonic shows had a 3-season, that's kind of weird, 3 seasons and only 23 episodes? Anyways, that kind of threw me for a loop, so I'm not used to seeing that. But anyways, with 23 episodes in total between December 2022 and January 2024. The studio is also helping out with the Minecraft animated series for Netflix. Now, personally, I've never watched Sonic Prime myself, so if you have, let me know if it's good or not in the comment section below, and I don't know, maybe I'll watch it and share my thoughts in a video. But I have a feeling, and this is just going off of the trailer that I just watched, I have a feeling it's probably not going to be very good. I hope I'm completely wrong, but when it comes to like animation and video games, I feel like a lot of times it's hit or miss, and when it's hit, it hits real hard, and when it misses really hard. There seems to be like no in between. And I think the problem with that is like a lot of times companies like to do their own thing or inject things that aren't really part of the source material, and sometimes they do come up with really cool things, not even just in like video game animations, but like even in comics. Like Harley Quinn wasn't part of the DC Comics. She originated in the Batman the Animated Series. So it can work, and it can work really great, especially when it comes to like designs for characters. I mean, one good example is, Arcane. That really took the world by storm, and that definitely did have some influence over the game. When it comes to Heath Ledger's Joker, that definitely influenced the look of Joker in a lot of ways, unless you're talking about Absolute Batman. I don't know if anyone reads that series that's going on right now, but man, Joker looks like one huge monstrosity. I honestly don't see how, well, I don't know, because I don't want to spoil that. I'm not going to spoil that, but I can see a way on how Absolute Batman can go up against Absolute Joker, but it's still really crazy. Anyways, we're talking about video games. We're not talking about comics right now. But yeah, I'm hoping it's good. I mean, I remember as a kid when I used to watch like WB Kids, and they used to have the Kirby animation, and of course there was the Mega Man animated series as well. Sometimes there were games that did have animated series and they turned out pretty cool. At least from memory. Maybe if I go back and watch them, they're absolute trash. But from memory, I remember I used to enjoy them. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but Monster Rancher, that's a pretty deep cut. So I hope it's good. And moving on to some Nintendo Switch Online news. It seems there are some new Halloween icons that you can acquire. This is what Nintendo of America said. You can now redeem your My Nintendo Platinum points to collect Halloween themed custom icons, available until November 3rd at 5 p.m. PT. I don't know why it's only available till November 3rd. That's a little weird. Why not just run it all the way until like December 1st or something? But anyways, let me know what you guys think about today's topics down in the comments section below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.